So, welcome everyone. We're glad to have you here for the full focus training, Achieve Your Blueprint Success. Basically, we're going to share with you over these next 2 days that we're together, today and Thursday, basically a philosophy that you're going to have to adopt. I'll be honest, if you've never done it, it may be hard at first, but I will tell you it's a life-changing thing if you put it into practice. But isn't that the hardest thing with everything? Putting it into practice. It's easy to hear it. We know we should do it, but then we have to do it each and every day. But we're going to give you a system to be able to follow. And the nice thing is you have the sheets. Yes, we'd love you to get a full focus planner, but that's totally up to you if you decide to buy the planner. But I am going to give you the sheets. You've got those all in the documents already. And we're going to walk through that process on how to do it. And that becomes the real key. And there's lots of options that you have. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and instead of sharing my screen the first time, I know what the first slide is, and I'd rather keep this up as a group, is really about a positive focus. And any of you that's done some training with you, you know that I bring this up almost in every training. It's setting the mindset to what we want to accomplish. And what positive focus is really something that's happened. I'm going to give you the last 30 days. Normally, when I do this with a group, it's the last week, but we're going to let you do the last 30 days. And I want you to think of something personally that's happened that's a positive focus for you, and then something professionally. And it does not have to be a big thing. Like I'll give you my professional one. I got an email last Thursday from a client that I worked with last year, and they said they want me back again this year. That feels pretty darn good, and stuff on that positive focus. Personally, my positive focus is this weekend we had what we call Woober's Family Weekend. All my brothers and sisters got together down at the lake at my brother's lake house, and we spent from Friday afternoon till Sunday morning together. And we're all in this area, but we still don't see each other that often. So it was nice to get together. And it's one of the things that my mom, before she passed away, said, you kids need to still get together. And so we're honoring her wishes on that. So those are my two positive focus. And I'd like each of you to share. I think y'all know I'm Gary Woobers with Ascend Business Strategies. And if you would, share which company you're with and tell, if you would, your personal and professional positive focus. And I'll kind of call you out if that's okay on each person. So we'll pretty well go the way you came in. Leslie, so I'm going to let you go first.
Good morning. I am with Mid-America Bank. We are a 10 branch, 2 production office, local bank, primarily in mid-Missouri. I was just brought on as the training and development coordinator. They hadn't had formal training, but are, growing at a pretty fast pace. So it was definitely a desire. Put me on the spot here. Okay. Professional. Well, you said it could be small, so here it goes. I got a new, not so much a planner, just a daily to-do list kind of notebook, and have been using it every day since I got it, which
Excellent.
kind of like that first day of school. Like, I'm going to be so organized, and it lasts 3 days. So,
Right.
Personal, it's been kind of nutty. My house is on the market. We just moved into the new place. The old place isn't sold. So that's going to be another small one. Let's go with, oh goodness. Well, I got the house on the market on the date that we agreed on. And it was very touch and go if we were going to make that deadline for a while with a full-time job, toddler, all the life things. So we'll go with that.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Haley?
I'm Haley Blevins. I'm a Special Olympics Missouri. I'm the development director in Southwest Missouri. I would say that my personal accomplishment this week, or really this last month since school started, is I have gotten up with my alarm every day.
All right.
With 2 small kids that fight sleep. It's a huge accomplishment in my house. So that was a huge win for us this last 4 weeks of the first 4 weeks of school. As far as professionally, I've been able to get several new fundraisers and events scheduled for the fall, including an athlete registration day for new athletes. So we're really excited about that. And all of the things are falling into place, and just, all the things that you wish will happen, they've just happened this week and this month. So it's been really good. And I'm taking every win that I can, because behind every win, there's probably 15 things that go wrong. So every win that comes through, we've celebrated. So it's been great.
Right. Welcome. Alan.
Yes, I'm Alan Tobin, a athlete and part-time staff member for Special Olympics Missouri with the athlete leadership assistant and communication. Let's see. Personal would be I took up a walking exercise every morning. Have just recently went to half calf for my coffee, and so I can limit my caffeine intake, and I went to sugar-free on the coffee creamer.
Great job.
Let's see, professional. I am also part of the health and wellness, and I am leading our Strive for Strength workout last week, this week, and helping with the other athletes.
Excellent. Thanks, Alan. Glad you joined us. Abby, you're next on my screen.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Abby. I'm a public speaker for schools, and I'm also a wellness coach. My positive focus for something personally was my husband and I have a new puppy, and so we've been working on potty training him. And yesterday he only went pee in our house once, and so that was a big win. So very pumped about that. Professionally, I've been working with a brand coach, and last week she just sent me my logo, and that was a huge win, and it felt really good to actually have a visual representation of what I do. So that's my professional win.
That's excellent. Welcome. And I lost my screen for a minute. Sorry about that. How about Peyton? You want to go next?
Hey everyone, my name is Peyton Harris. I'm also with Special Olympics Missouri. I am the Unified Champion City School Specialist. So I'm based out of St. Louis, and I help some of the inner city schools. Professionally, my positive focus was last week. I was chosen to be on a committee to help plan our summer retreat for next summer. So pretty excited about that. And then personally, this past weekend, I got to travel to Northern Illinois, to my hometown, to spend some time with some friends and family, golf a little bit, and watch some football. So that was exciting.
Great. Welcome, Peyton. Gabby?
Hi, I'm Gabby. I'm the health and wellness coordinator with Special Olympics in the Kansas City area. I guess my personal would be that I started looking at new cars finally. So I test drove my boyfriend's mom's car because she's trying to sell it. So hopefully that's the car that I actually end up with, because I liked it and it's less than $10,000. So that'll be great. And then professionally, I finally got one community young athletes program set up. And then I have one school young athletes program that'll run from October to May. So that'll be great.
Excellent. Welcome, Gabby. Kaylee?
Heyo, I'm Kaylee McKinney. I'm with Ready Pop Popcorn, and I'm the operations manager there. Ready Pop grew really well in the COVID times, and they are super successful, which is amazing, but they grew really fast. So I was hired on to kind of clean up their system a little bit. So a professional goal is definitely to try to figure out all the things that need to be cleaned up and kind of put into place. And right now, fundraisers are kind of kicking our butt a lot. So, hey, Haley, I see you on those fundraisers. So, just trying to get all of those organized. And then a personal one, I've had a lot of life changes here recently. So, trying to get finances in order and kind of figuring out a budget because let's be honest, this girl does not have a budget. So, work in progress.
Excellent. Great job. Melissa, would you share?
Yes, had a good weekend, went to the movies with my dad. It was his birthday. We celebrated, went to eat and all of that good stuff. And then professionally, we had a client, well, we didn't know what happened with his domain, but apparently he was hacked. And so I spent a lot of time on chat last week and we figured it all out and we've pretty much won his domain back, hopefully. So that was definitely a win.
Great. Well, welcome to have all of you. If you noticed, I have a passion for Special Olympics Missouri, and I invite the staff, if any of them wants to take the training, they can put it out, and any of the staff that wants to join. And there's quite a few that said yes this time, so I'm excited that they're here. And we have one more that has joined us. Kim has joined us. Kim, welcome. We did
Thank
a
you.
positive focus, and what that is, just personally and professionally, something in the last 30 days that you're excited about or happy about.
Oh my gosh. That was a bad time for me to hop in here.
Exactly. Perfect timing.
I got a lot going on. There's not enough time for me to tell you what all I got going on.
Well, just give us one of each.
Okay. I am actually, yeah, I don't know. Skip me. I've gotta get in this game
Okay,
first.
you give that some
I
thought
just
and we'll
hopped
come
on.
back to you there. Kim, who
Thank
you
you.
with?
Lasting Image.
Okay.
Salon.
Glad to have you. Excited that
Thank
you
you.
joined us today. Well, as I was telling everyone, one thing we do in this course is there's some group sharing. There won't be as much group, but you will break out into breakout rooms multiple times and you will be sharing with each other. That's why I try to get you to know each other. If you haven't, just reintroduce yourself real quick, but make that quick because there's only so much time. And I'll let you know how much time you have in the breakout room so you can kind of watch that for the timing that's there. But this is a participative class. This is not a Zoom class where you just sit there, listen to me. There will be some of that, but you're also then going to fill out the sheets, gives you the chance to use them, and then actually talk about them within the groups and stuff. So that's the reason I like you to be on screen with us the whole time.
I totally get that. I'm just still trying to figure out the whole technology world, and that's why I'm late. I can't even get it set up the way I want it set up. So just bear with me. I promise I'll be on task one day.
No problem. If you'll look, one of the things, if you would right now, try to find your mute button and stuff on that side. We have everyone in kind of mute, but that just make sure you know that's why we're kind of doing this. We have today and Thursday that we'll be together same time, 8:30 to 10:30. And like I said, we'll take a break halfway in between so we're ready to go. So I'm going to share my screen now and kind of go through our first section before we go into our first breakout room here. And if you would, after I get it up here, everybody seeing full focus planner training, give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'm getting some thumbs up, so I think that's right. Let me move a few things over because it's in my way. So I can still see you, but I can see some other things that I need to see also in each one of those areas. So you know why you're here. There is the documents in the Google Drive. They're in chat. If you need to download those, you got an email on that too. We will be using some of that. If you would, I was in the wireless industry 22 years. And it's a great thing, but it's also a big disruption and stuff. If you can put it on Do Not Disturb, that would be wonderful. I'm going to do mine right now myself. Wanted to make sure somebody didn't need to try to reach me as we go along. But if you can put it on Do Not Disturb, we would appreciate that in each one of those areas. We've done the positive focus personally and professionally. So we're going to get right into the full focus, and I'm going to share some things with you in the full focus planning. The big thing we want you to think about is we want to help high achieving people and their teams get the vision, alignment, and kind of the execution they need at work, but we also want you to succeed at life. We call this what we call the double win. So when you're thinking about the double win, I want you to think about what's some of the challenges that we have. And let me go back because my total screen is not working exactly like I want. Okay, great. Now it is. So I want you to think about what's some of the challenges we run into in everyday life, as well as professionally, as well as personally. Sometimes it happens. One of them that may happen to us is what we call these drop tasks. How many of you use these little notepads like this and have tons of little sticky notes everywhere? Well, I have them in my car because then I can transfer them now into my full focus planner. But the challenge with all those sticky notes, sometimes those can get lost and we have these drop tasks that happen. So what we got to do is we may forget something that's really important, or we may lose that note. So if we don't want to let our colleagues down, our friends, our spouse, our kids down, it seems like we've got to finally figure out a system to be able to fight that. So a lot of times is we're fighting it and we really don't know how to move forward. I don't want you to be left scrambling at the last minute to deliver something that isn't your best work. So drop task becomes one of those challenges. The next challenge that sometimes we may get is the lack of direction. What do we allow to control us? For a lot of us, let's be honest, what controls us is our email. Whatever comes in yesterday, now today, that becomes priority. And at times that may be the right priority, but a lot of times that may be the wrong priority. So I want you to think, if you're feeling a little directionless in your career or in your life, or if you're feeling like you're simply kind of going through the motions someday and you're just kind of watching that time pass you by, we want you to be more intentional. We yearn for the sense of ambition and purpose, but we want you to be able to achieve that. But instead, you feel unamored, you feel directionless. We don't know where we want to go or what we should be pursuing each day. And we want to really change that through having a system. Right now, it's hard some days to get excited for yourself. Get out of bed and tell yourself, okay, some of you wrote it down. Alan said he did it this morning. I was sharing that I did. Some of you know you want to exercise, but man, when that alarm goes off, we keep hitting the snooze, and we hit the snooze multiple times. So the thing we can do is we can change that lack of direction with having a system. The other challenge we get into, we're all busy. Let's be honest. There's not a person on here that's not busy. That is life. Ask most people and they'll tell you I'm busy. And sometimes that busyness is really, we feel like that hamster on a hamster wheel. You feel like you're not running, you're running always full sprint. And of course, you're really not getting anywhere that you want to. So your to-do list seems to never get any shorter. We add more to it, it keeps getting longer. And I'll be quite honest, that's demotivating. You start the day already stressed, and by the end of the day, you're stressed and exhausted by every time the end of the day. So you know you're on that road to burnout. We get to the weekends, and all that does is gives us enough charge to get through the next week. So I want you to change that. And how can we finally get the rest and relaxation and enjoy it and truly enjoy the things on the weekends? So you can truly enjoy your family, your friends, your relationships that you had. If you're tired of trying harder and you're feeling like you're even falling behind, this system will help you with changing that. And then, of course, we all have the inescapable distraction. That's maybe where you feel hostage all the time by that distraction. Some of us, let's be honest, it's the social media on your phone. You go there to escape. You go there and you look down and 45 minutes has just passed you by. And you know, oh gosh. And then guess what that does? Anything that we did want to do, it makes it harder to get that accomplished. So you know what you should be working on, but you never seem to make the progress that you want. There's always another email to respond to, another task, another thing that needs to be done. And frankly, the work you should be working on feels overwhelming. And all we want to do is really get the momentum in the right direction. So some of us have these dreams. We may call them goals, we may call them dreams, but you've put them on a shelf. You said, I can't get there anymore. I'm not going to be able to achieve that. You think someday, but then it's a year after year, it becomes the same thing. So you know what you want to do, but it seems that it's an impossible dream or goal. Yeah, you don't even know how to get started. You feel shackled by the current reality. But being honest, you can make that change. So with our system, I'm going to share with you is with drop tasks, There's a central storehouse for this system. Okay. And we'll talk about that and share that with you. It's the answer to drop tasks. The planner provides a central storehouse, everything from meetings, night out with friends, anything that you want. The planner is designed to give you visibility into your days and even your weeks. In fact, you'll have a designated strategy for catching the obstacles that would have tripped you up before they become a problem. And there's no more loose ends, no more fires that you have to fight all the time. How about in this lack of direction? By having worthwhile goals, we can change that. If you're feeling a bit lost and directionless, the Full Focus Planner can help you create actionable goals that you want to pursue. Most goal setting fails miserably because there's not an action. We do it, we get excited, and then we stop. A quarter of people abandon their New Year's resolutions just after 1 week. After 1 week. So basically what we were talking about in worthwhile goals, when lack of direction, we have worthwhile goals. Basically, instead of feeling that directionless, the Full Focus Planner can really help you create actionable goals that you want to pursue. And most goal setting fails, though. That's the challenge. As I was telling, a quarter of the people abandon their New Year's resolution just after 1 week. 60% give up in 6 months. And the average person makes the same New Year's resolution about 10 different times. So what do these people have in common? Likely they don't have a few simple keys to goal setting that can help you. So here's the first. We're going to help you how you write your goals. We're going to give you a proven system. You've probably heard about the SMART framework. We're going to give you the system called the SMARTER framework, goal achievement framework that Michael Hyatt created. And you'll be equipped to set goals and actually help you design those so you can achieve those goals in each one of those areas. The next thing is we've really got to get out of this busyness, the clear priorities. Now, here's the bad news that I have for you. The Full Focus system won't magically check everything off your to-do list. Sorry, can't do that. That's because the key to breaking free to your to-do list on that treadmill really that you feel like you're on is not worrying about always a completed to-do list. It's really taking control of your list. You got to have more clarity. When you work on what's most important for you each day, you're going to start making progress on the things that matters the most. In other words, you shift from trying to get everything done to getting the right things done. The result becomes freedom that you get to have then at the end. When we look at inescapable distraction, we're going to create about consistent accountability. So here, for those of you who feel like you just can't escape that distraction, the planner provides an accountability for you, just like an accountability partner can. When you have, got some coming in yet, when you have a shorter and a much shorter to-do list, it's much harder to let yourself off the hook from switching task to task. And we lose brain power and concentration and focus when we switch from task to task. So at the same time, breaking big projects down into manageable chunks really will help you, or manageable steps will help you feel that they're less daunting. And you'll be less to dread them. Instead of getting the whole thing done, maybe it's about getting that first thing done each day and then moving to that next task that you have to be able to get the next action item that you've got. So when you just start completing 3 tasks in the right direction each day, it starts to build that momentum and as well as that confidence for yourself. And then the last one is distant dreams to actionable plans. If you're someone who has dreams and goals sitting on the shelf somewhere, get ready to dust them off, because the Full Focus will give you a design, turn your design dreams into goals, and then you turn them goals into actionable steps. Day after day, week after week, you'll make measurable progress towards the future you want to create. Imagine a world where you didn't have to wait any longer to make that dream a reality. You could start tomorrow and keep putting one foot in front of another. It would feel great, wouldn't it? That's what we call the double win. The true cost of stress and overwhelm, how the Full Focus Planner helps you is creating this double win. We help high-achieving leaders and their teams get the vision, alignment, and execution they need to work and succeed in life. That's what we want you to have, is the double win. Now, we'll tell you we have to watch the ambition break. We have to protect our personal priorities. I have to sacrifice my potential at work to be able to get something I want. Both of these approaches are based on the idea that we have to choose either a successful career or we have to have a meaningful personal life. Our mission is to help you lead the better way that you can have both. And there is a way to do that. I'd like to share I'm going to give you the shorter version of my story because of time, but I want to share with you my story about when I picked up. It wasn't the full focus planner back then. In the mid-90s, I went to a class for Franklin Covey that was called Focus. Full Focus Planner is designed by Michael Hyatt Company. But the Focus class was by Franklin Covey, and it's kind of interesting. They called it, now it's called Full Focus, the Michael Hyatt side. Back then in Franklin Covey, they called it Focus. And with that class, and it talked about this weekly and daily planning and putting your priorities in place. Now, I can tell you I've not been 100% consistent. But I will tell you, since probably the mid-90s, I've gotten out of that habit of multiple times, but then I've come back to it. And every time I get out of the habit, I feel like I'm everywhere. But when I'm in the habit, I feel a lot more organized. Like yesterday, when I did my weekly plan for the week, I feel like I know what is coming up each day this week, and I feel more prepared to be able to tackle it. So that's what I hope the Full Focus Planner gives to you. The thing is, it's not about it being 100%. But it is about being consistent, and it's about being disciplined to doing it, because it's just as easy not to do it. But if you really want to make a difference in your life, you're going to have to do that. I feel like it makes a difference for me. Now, when I go on vacation, do I do a full focus planner? No. But the thing is, otherwise, I probably do it 95 to 98% of the time. There's a few weeks that I'll miss here and there, but man, that week will be off, and then I'll know right away what threw me off. You know, if you were out in the national park and you didn't know where you're going and you're not on a trail, you would have a compass, right? Or a GPS if we're trying to get one place to the next. Just think of your full focus planner as that GPS for you and for your life as you go forward. It will make a big difference, and it has for me. I want to share with you this power of leveraging the power of three. You may have heard about that. Abby, you're a speaker, so you should definitely know the power of three. They tell you if you give people 10 things to remember, they can't remember them. But if you give them 3 things, people can walk away with them. They may not remember all 3, but they'll remember the importance of that. That's the power of 3. And you're going to hear this on focus, and producing your focus and productivity is narrowing your focus to just 3 tasks, 3 objectives, or 3 goals in any given period will help you achieve what you want to achieve. You're going to hear us talk about the quarterly big 3, the weekly big 3, and even the daily big 3. And then we're going to take that another way, and we're going to talk about the daily big 3. That is that item of 3 most important tasks that you must complete today. You need to put the word behind it that says, I must complete this day. If I don't, it's not going to be a very productive day. But I don't have 10 of those. I may have 5 or 7 other tasks that I need to do, but they're not the most important. What's the 3 most important ones that I need to do? And just remember kind of that must versus I should. The second one is this weekly big 3. We're going to have you look at a weekly time frame. What's the 3 most important projects? Not so much tasks, but projects or big things I have. This week, one of my big ones are being the facilitator for this full focus class. Okay? That's a big one on Tuesday and Thursday that I show up, and I'm prepared for that. Hopefully Zoom shows up with me, as we saw earlier on that side of it. But what are those 3 things? Sometimes it's not about accomplishing a goal, but it's taking the first step. So that's the thing. We have to break it down into smaller steps. You've heard this saying, how do you eat an elephant? It's 1 bite at a time. So what's the first step to be able to achieve that? The third one is this quarterly big 3. What's the 3 most important goals or projects that you want to complete this quarter? I can tell you one that Melissa and I have on our list is we're trying to get our website updated and changed. And we've gone through some brand scripting on it. And Melissa's now going through the design phase. We're actually meeting after this to talk about what changes do we want to make. And then we're going to actually have someone else look at it to give us some feedback. Because sometimes when you're too close to something, you need some other feedback. So we're going to set up that meeting today with that individual that does some of the brand scripting to kind of help us really hone it in. That is one of my quarterly big three, is that we launch this thing come October. So that's a big task for us, or a goal that we have. So as you look at the full focus planner, that becomes the real key. And I want to kind of set it up for you, because as we get going in this, and we'll take a break here in a few minutes so you can hit the restroom and stuff, I want to share with you really 5 big keys that you can really come out in a tangible ways that will help you. And it will be really a one-stop shop for you to really design your home, your work, and everything in between. Because if you work on these 5 key practices, you're going to change the way you work and the way you live. So that first one, we've talked about goal setting already. That's built into it. The first is the goal setting. Simply put, setting better goals takes you in the right direction. You're going to get there quicker and faster if you set the right goals. When you have goals you're working towards, you'll be clear about what matters most and what you're excited about in that. That's why you'll learn how to write smarter goals, what we call smarter goals. Tell me how many people here, if you would, put in the chat if you have some goals for yourself that you still want to achieve by the end of this year. Just say yes or no, and then we'll talk about those as I go through. I'll look at the chat here in a minute and see what you put. Tell me yes or no if you still have goals that you want to achieve before the end of this year, because we are going to help you try to achieve that on that part of it, even within the less than 4 months that we have left in the year. The second practice is creating constraints. So one thing we have, constraints force creativity and more out-of-box thinking. It makes us work differently. Perhaps most importantly, it really forces prioritization. What's most important? Okay? Instead, everything is important. I understand we got a lot to do. I have a few things on my list today that I know I need to get done, but there's other things that I would like to get done. And getting clear about what matters is the key to productivity, because we can't get it all done. Email kills us today because that becomes the priority for most people. If you get in that email, you can be in that rabbit hole for a couple hours, and then there's always something else to do with that. So we have to figure out how are we going to handle that. And that's why you'll master the tools of the quarterly big three, the weekly big three, and even the daily big three. The third one is reflection. And also we put planning up there at the same time because they kind of go together. The two practices, you can work these in together. You integrate these two practices because we think our learning from the past should shape our strategies and decisions for the future. Now, the planner is designed to help you capture lessons simply and to shape that behavior accordingly. Now, we've distilled these practices in what we call the weekly preview, and we're going to go through that, as well as the quarterly preview. We won't spend as much time on the quarterly preview, but I will share that with you, what that is. And the neat thing is you're going to get a chance to do a quarterly preview here real quick, because sometime by the end of the month, you should use the quarterly preview to get yourself set for the fourth quarter. And then the last one is automation. Well, automation is important because we're not talking about machines. We're talking about self-automation. Yourself, getting that self-automation. It's the key to really completing daily tasks and prioritizing your self-care while simplifying your life. Some of you heard earlier when Alan and I was speaking, he went out for a walk this morning. I went to the gym. Now, when I first started going to the gym, I was 275 pounds. That was back in 2002. It was not a habit. It was not self-automation. I will tell you now, my exercise is pretty self-automation. I have to still overcome the mind, because when the alarm went off at 4:45 this morning, I don't know about you, but I didn't just jump out of bed and say, yep, ready to go. But I did put my phone over, so I have to get up out of bed to be able to hit that stop button. I don't hit the snooze, I hit the stop button to be able to get it. And then once I'm up, it's like, heck, might as well go ahead and go. I also had laid my clothes out last night, and they were all ready for me, versus having to try to fumble around and do them because my wife was sleeping in this morning a little bit later and decided that she was going to go for a walk instead of going to body pump. So I didn't interrupt her. But it's all setting that mindset up. I had all my stuff laid out. Even at the kitchen table, I had my vitamins I take in the morning first thing and my water bottle sitting there, because that becomes that self-automation. So that becomes the key to really creating habits that you can really make things happen. You've got to do that with the planner. You heard me talk about discipline and consistency. When you leverage habits, you create the daily rituals, and you can also create what we call an ideal week that will go through you also. So as we get into the daily pages and stuff, before I do that, I think this is a perfect time to take our first break, or take our only break, really. I got 9:23. Can everybody accomplish within 5 minutes what we need to do? Hit the restroom if you need a refill of water or coffee or whatever. I got 9:24 now, so 9:29 we'll start up. Just put your, if you want to take your camera off, you can, or you can just leave it on. And then let's just take a quick 5 minutes here. 9:29, we're going to start. Back up. 5 minutes. Thank you. Normally we have this as a poll, but our poll thing didn't work with some of the other challenges we have. So my question for each of you today is, we're going to start out in this, what we call the time matrix, and share some information with you. But I'd like to ask you is, how many of you do a daily plan now? How many of you do a daily plan? It can be one, whatever system you want, but you kind of write out what is most important. Of course, we're not talking about the Power 3 and everything else. We'll get into that. But how many of you create yourself a daily plan now? And if you do, just put it in chat, yes or no. Be honest with us. I know this is tougher. The poll makes it a little easier because it's kind of anonymous that's there. But I want to share that with you, and then we'll talk about that at the very end. The first video I'm going to show you, this is actually a Franklin Covey video, but it's one that I think really sets up the thing. And you're going to hear about what they call the time matrix. And as you listen to this, if you want to make any notes, make those notes for yourself. But kind of think for yourself, where are your priorities? What are you really working the most on? Which quadrant are you working on? And then we'll talk a little bit about it at the very end. So get this started for us.
So how do we consistently put first things first to create the results we want in work and life? It starts with understanding the return on your time and energy, represented by the time matrix. The matrix has two axes. The vertical one is importance. The horizontal one is urgency. Together, they form 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is for things that are both important and urgent. They are things we care about and that must be done now. This is where we find crises, emergency meetings, last-minute deadlines, pressing problems, and unforeseen events. We call this the quadrant of necessity. Time spent here is necessary, but you usually get a return that's equal to or less than the time and energy you spend. If you live here for long, you will burn out. Quadrant 3 is for things that are urgent, but that are not important. These are things that come at us. They're things that we feel like we need to act on because they clamor for our attention. But when we take a closer look, they turn out to be unimportant, low-value activities. This is where we find a lot of needless interruptions, unnecessary reports, and irrelevant meetings. It contains other people's minor issues and is often filled with unimportant email, tasks, phone calls, and so forth. We call this the quadrant of distraction, and it always generates a return that is less than the time and energy you spend. If you spend a lot of time here, you're likely to feel very busy, but ultimately ineffective and unfulfilled. Quadrant 4 is for things that are neither important nor urgent. We really shouldn't be here at all, but we often get so worn out spending time in quadrants 1 and 3 that we go here as a way to escape. This is a place where we shut off our brains and don't do anything of value. Here we find trivial work along with excessive television, gaming, internet surfing, gossip, and other time wasters. We call this the quadrant of waste. Time spent here is unnecessary and generates 0 return. If you spend a lot of time here, you're likely to feel lethargic, ineffective, and unfulfilled. Quadrant 2 is for things that are important, but not urgent. These are things that really matter to your results, but that won't happen unless you act on them. It's the quadrant of effectiveness because it's where you find the things that really make a difference and move you toward your mission, like proactive work, achieving important goals, creative thinking, planning and prevention, relationship building, learning and renewal, as well as true recreation. These things don't come at you. You have to decide to invest your time in quadrant 2. Time spent here always generates a return far greater, often exponentially greater, than the time and energy you put into it. To be highly effective, you need to consistently prevent the crises that consume your time and energy in quadrant 1, minimize the time you spend on the distractions of quadrant 3, eliminate entirely the time you spend in quadrant 4, and expand the amount of time you invest in quadrant 2. Working and living in quadrant 2 means that you're focused on the things that matter, that change the game, that have a significant impact on your results. It's a mindset that helps you determine which things are truly the first things that will generate significant value in your work and your life.
So let's talk about this a little bit before I go in the daily pages. So you'll need to have your daily page. You can just have one of them out, and we'll be going through this in a minute. What did it just tell us? Quadrant 2 is where we get the most accomplished, right? It's planning, preparation. Our most important work is done there. Now, let's be honest. Quadrant 1 will happen. It'd be great to say you can eliminate, but you will not eliminate quadrant 1. There's going to be important things that come up that you got to handle right away. I always joke with people. I said, you know, if there's a fire, you want people to get out of the building if there's a fire. So there's times there's urgencies come up. But we do have to realize we like the work in urgency. It feels good. Taking care of someone else, taking care of their problem, taking care of their issue. So we have to watch it though. I can tell you it becomes one of those challenges because why? We feel like, oh, we're kind of the savior. We're Superman or Superwoman. You know, with our cape, we come in and we save the day. But if we do that all the time, what starts to happen? We start to burn out. We get stressed. And then sometimes you get a little short fuse with somebody and they're like, woo, what's wrong with you today? Things of that nature. So we have to realize quadrant 1 feels good, but if we do more planning and prepping in quadrant 2, you'll have less quadrant 1 activities in your workplace. Quadrant 3 and 4 is where we end up. 4, not so much at work. I hope you don't at work because that means you're doing really useless things. Quadrant 3, though, is those inescapable distractions sometimes. Somebody comes in the office and says, hey, you got 5 minutes? And they stay for 35 minutes. Someone sends you a message and, you know, an email and you've got that work to do, or you get tied up into that email. And we'll talk about some rituals that help you there. So quadrant 3, the most you can do, the best you can do is if you can try to eliminate those, that works really well. And then quadrant 4, for some of us, what we do is we then get done with the week and we're so tired and exhausted. And then we watch a whole series on Netflix of some show. I don't watch some TV. I'm fine with that. But watching a whole Netflix series over the weekend is waste and excess, folks. Or let's be honest, what happens for some people, quadrant 4, they start doing this. They drink. Or they try to get themselves out of it through other methods, other ways. And that's very important that you make sure you eliminate that from your life. You're never going to achieve what you want if you're in quadrant 4. So that becomes the key there. So I'd like sharing that time matrix because it makes us think, where am I living? What is that zone that I'm spending my time in? And as we look at the weekly planner, and I'm going to just kind of walk you through this, you're going to actually fill yours out, and then you're going to go to breakout rooms and you're going to talk about it as a group. And I'll share a couple questions with you I want you to ask. So when you look at your daily planner, when you have it in front of you, you notice you see it in the daily big 3, other tasks and all that. Let's just walk through that a little bit with you. So the first thing it does, it gives you a place to fill in your date. So you see that up on the right-hand corner here and stuff? Go ahead and put in that date if you're filling out, because I'm going to have you fill this out for today. And then it also gives you at the very top weeks remaining in the quarter. You know, normally there's 13 weeks in a quarter. So if you wanted to, you could mark out what that week is. It's probably about week 11 right now. I think there's 2 weeks after this week, maybe 10 on that side of it. Trying to do quick math here in my head. So you can mark that. And then you list your daily big 3. The one thing I want to caution you on, you don't have to have 3. You don't need to have more than 3. You should not have more than 3, but you don't have to have 3. If you're doing an all-day training with someone and you were in a training all day, that would be your one big item that you should put in that item. Now, I have today, because full focus class is going on right now, that's one of my big 3. Okay. I also have a podcast 6-part series review that I want to do today. So that's in my second daily big 3. And my third one is I'm going to text or call some business owners about my 2-day leadership class coming up. So that's my 3. So I want you to think about what your 3 is, because you're going to be putting in them also. I would think full focus would be in there because that's 2 hours of your day. So that would be 1. So really you only have 1 or 2 more that you have to put in. So what's the most important things I need to accomplish today? And it can be kind of a task. You heard me say business owners, call or text those business owners about my 2-day leadership. But that's important because that class is coming up in October. And if I don't do it now, I won't be able to fill the class and get enough people in it, or I won't have as many people, and then I'm not getting maximum exposure. And some of it is, let's be honest, it's revenue also that comes in. And Melissa likes that because that's how she gets paid, is bringing revenue in. So the third one that you'll see there is task status. Okay, you'll see where it has task and notes. This is where, like, I've made a note that I need to reach out to, I've got here, follow up with a couple clients and stuff. And I'd like to get that done today, but if I don't, it's no big deal. I also have, I try to message my kids. I have 3 kids, Chris, Adam, and Ellie, and I try to message them on a week. I have that in there as that task today to do that. And then on my, I've got another one. I want to look up some information that I want to share with my business owners. I have a mastermind group, and I want to be able to share that with them. So I have that pulled up there. So here's a good question. What if we have 4 meetings that are each 1 hour? Do we chunk them in the meetings? I think then if they're meetings and you know that they're important that you have to have, I think you can chunk them together. That one task is that you complete all 4 of those. If you don't have any, if you know that's going to take half the day, you could break them down to 2 of the major tasks that's there in each one of those areas. But the big thing is, don't put those 4 and then put 2 other big items there that's going to take too many hours that you set yourself up for failure. Because the whole thing is to tell yourself, set yourself up for that success. So the tasks give you that in that area, each one of those areas. Again, here you should really only have 3 to 5. Because if you have 10 or 15, I've done this before on Mondays. I try to get everything I think of on the weekend, I put it on Monday. And what do? I fail on Mondays. So instead, can you spread that out? So you put your other tasks down. If you notice at the bottom of that page, it has a ledger for you. See how it has the check mark, done? When you complete that thing, check it off. That feels good. That gives us an adrenaline rush. If we're waiting on someone, we can put the equal sign, the line and the equal sign that's there. If you're delegating it, that's a circle. Sometimes they tell you put the initial of who you delegated that to. If you deferred it, maybe you had to move it, you didn't get it accomplished. I had a couple things I didn't get done yesterday, and I've got the arrow, and I'm deferring it to a different day. And then sometimes you'll realize, oh, I put a task down, and really I don't need to do that anymore. X, delete it. It doesn't matter. Or maybe that person called you where you were going to call them, and they've called you already, so you can exit, or you can check it, that's there. And then you'll see, we'll talk more about this later, but there's rituals. Do you have a morning ritual? Do you have a workday startup ritual, a workday shutdown ritual, evening ritual? We'll get more into what those are tomorrow, but I want you to think about it. A morning ritual, I kind of told you mine this morning. 4:45, the alarm went up, body pump. I came home, I did my stretching. I didn't get my sauna. I got a sauna actually that I do normally in some mornings. I didn't get sauna in this morning because of class, but I didn't get that part. But then I came in to get prepared for this class and stuff. And then the workday startup and stuff. But the morning ritual is more about me, my time. That's there in each one of those areas. So we'll talk more about those. And then if there's any scheduled meetings. Now this part you can use or not use. Let's be honest, most of us have a wireless phone and we have a calendar in our phone and we have those calendar dates in the phone. So if you want to put them on there and write them out, you can. If you don't want to, no big deal. Refer to your phone and let that be your calendar on that side. And then it's even good, we'll talk a little bit more about that. If you had a certain thing that you wanted to do and you had 2 hours blocked, like meetings we would have on there, but let's say 2 hours that I was going to work on my keynote, I could actually put it over here and block it on my calendar and do it on the calendar too and tell myself, okay, these 2 hours are for blocking for that keynote or working on that keynote or special project that I have. So each one of them gives you those. So then I've talked about down before the notes and the legends. You use those at the end of the day, or, like I said, if I get done with a task, I mean, I've called somebody, like if I message my kids that I have down today, you better believe I'll be putting a check mark there because it makes you feel good. It lets you see that you're accomplishing what you want. So now what I'd like you to do, maybe you've done some of it already, but I'll give you a minute or two. Go ahead and fill your daily plan out. And I have Monday up here, but hopefully you've got a Tuesday. But even if it's you started on one day, just scratch that out and put whatever day it actually is, Tuesday up there that it is, and go ahead and fill it out. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that, and then I'm going to come back on, and then we're going to put you in the breakout rooms, but I'll share what questions I want you to talk about before we do that. So I've got 9:44, so you got a couple minutes here. So just let's do a little quick share real quick as far as tell me, either it can be yourself or it can be someone on your team. What did you like what you heard when we talked about the habit, create the habit? How would we create the habit? Somebody give me a raised hand, or if you just want to raise it that way, maybe. Kylie, I see you raising.
There we go. Yeah, so technology is a struggle, right? So one of the things that we talked about, Peyton and I both agreed, like, scale of 1 to 10, we were kind of about like a 7 or an 8-ish, on how good it felt to write our things down. Because if personally, I would have had like a little bit more time to really think about all the things that I need to do today, which realistically probably isn't a lot, would have been a 10. And then things that help us be consistent is, for me, like putting maybe at the beginning of the week, just kind of thinking about all the things that I need to do in that week. And then each day kind of reflect in the morning time and get an idea of what is more pressing that day, or what can I possibly put on hold for that day and push on to another day.
Yeah, excellent. We talked about that. We start with the daily plan, but we're going to next go into the weekly plan. And when you have that, it really starts to flow well together. But we do that on purpose because for some people, when you go straight to the weekly plan, they lock up because, oh my gosh, that's too much to do. That's there. So I think that's really important there. Melissa said, what did you have, Melissa, there? We all share our weekly big 3 in our Monday morning. It helps for her to hold me accountable, but also feel so much better so we can kind of stay in tune. So that's one way we do it. We use our weekly big 3 that's there, and then our daily big 3 that we'll talk about it there a little bit. Anybody else have one they would like to share? Got to pick somebody. Leslie, how about you, Sharon?
Sure. I was just saying that filling it out felt great, especially because there's just a lot of chaos in my life right now. We're kind of moving in construction, both in my personal life and in my office. So in terms of making the habit, my bigger concern wasn't keeping with the planner and filling that out. I'm a sucker for a good office supply. And I enjoyed that. It's more than staying on task, especially I'm sure this crosses industries, but it's like with my job in training and development, and then in banking, it's like I mean, it's nothing for an executive to pop a meeting on my calendar, or an associate to call needing something. So and then just me myself, I have ADHD, so it's very much squirrel. Well, so that's my bigger concern. Is I love the layout of this, which is why I decided to take the course. It's the follow through that I am personally concerned with, just knowing my own bad habits.
Well, that's great. I appreciate you being honest, because that's the thing that'll help you right there in that area. So I'm glad to hear that on that side of it. So that's good when we come up and we're willing to share that and be honest with ourselves. And we're going to give you some tips tomorrow to help you in that process. So that's excellent. Okay, well, we're going to jump back in and let me see if I can get the right slide up here and share back. Give me a thumbs up if I'm sharing here again. Let's see if we're in the same spot. Everybody seeing your turn up on the screen? Thumbs up. Okay, good. I got to always remember to go back completely out and then come back in when you go to breakout rooms. It seems to work so much easier. So our next thing we're going to talk about is that weekly preview. So if you want to pull that sheet out, we're going to do the weekly preview, and it's designed to help you learn from last week and then plan for your upcoming week. And it includes space for that reflection. Some of you talked about capturing those loose ends and really anticipating some needs that you have. If you don't mind, throw up in chat. I told you I don't have the polls working right now, but if you would throw up in chat if you do a weekly plan now each week, and you don't have to be each week, but you're consistent on kind of doing a weekly plan 80% of the time. Go ahead and put that in chat if you do, a yes or a no. If you'd be honest with us and stuff there, I'll have you share that. Normally we have a poll side of it. And I'm going to share you another video. And in this video, it's going to talk about weekly planning. And it's going to give you some tips, and then we're going to go through the weekly plan and share that in each one of those. But I think this really sets the stage of why it's so important on the weekly plan.
Many of us live our lives hour to hour, day to day, focusing only on the immediate threat or passing impulse. So consumed with reacting to today that we neglect to even consider, let alone see, the big picture. The big picture is what's ultimately important. Our mission, our vision, and our quadrant 2 priorities. But if we do not act on what's important, we end up neglecting the very details that enable us to achieve our goals. So how do we stay focused day to day without losing sight of the big picture? Between our big picture thinking and the demands of the here and now, there is a logical space that we must focus on: the week. The week represents a complete patch in the fabric of life. There are work days, evenings, and the weekend. It is close enough to be highly relevant, but distant enough to provide context and perspective. The most important thing you can do to balance your life and increase your productivity is to take the time to plan your week before the week begins. Take 30 minutes alone in a quiet place and go through these 3 steps. First, connect with your mission, roles, and goals. Roles come from your mission and represent your key relationships and areas of responsibility. You may have the role of being a sales manager, a family member, a friend, or a community volunteer. And don't forget to take care of yourself, to sharpen your own soul. Organizing your life around the roles you play will help you maintain balance and focus. Second, schedule the big rocks. Begin by asking the big rocks question. What are the 1 or 2 most important things I can do in this role this week? For instance, it might be to complete the budget. It might be to help a child resolve a problem, or to attend a conference where you will learn new ideas you need for your job. Schedule these big rocks onto your week first. Finally, organize the rest and schedule your other activities around the big rocks. With the right process for weekly planning, you can organize and execute every week of your life around your deepest quadrant 2 priorities. You will spend your time on those things that matter most without losing that big picture perspective that makes your life so rich and meaningful.
So it really sets up talking about the quadrant 2, planning and preparation. So when you're doing the weekly preview, you're spending time in that quadrant 2. And the challenge is we have to take that time. And that's the hardest part. So let's walk through the weekly preview. They talked about roles in this video. And I think that's important. We have to know the roles we play. One of them is whatever work you do, career path that you have, that's one of your roles. Mine, I'm a coach, trainer, and a speaker. Today, I'm kind of doing my training role that I have there. This week, I told you that came up. So I knew that at the beginning of the week, that role was coming up, was important to me. In our personal life, we have roles that we play. You could be a spouse. So what are you doing in that role? You may be a friend, maybe a family member and stuff. But each week we look at what roles are most important this week. And then we're telling you professionally as well as personally. Don't leave out the personal side. We want you to get the double win. You can win everything you do in your career and everything's going right there. But if things are falling apart at home, guess what? It's going to fall apart in the career. Same way, you can have everything going great at home, but if you're not doing what you need to do in your career, then guess what? Things will fall apart there. So it's about that double win that we talked about earlier. So in the weekly preview, as you look about it, it starts a little different than what most people would think. The first thing it has you do is do a weekly preview, and it talks about your previous week, and it has you list out your biggest wins. Wins are the same thing as a positive focus. And in here, I put personal or professional. You know, my Wilbur's family weekend was up there last week there. My client, my thing that I told you about my client that asked me back to come speak again next year to their team. That's one of my wins that I had last week. So my wins show up there. I list those out. Why do you think we do that? Anybody know? Why do you think we list the wins the first thing in a weekly preview? Go ahead and throw it up there if you know. I think somebody reported. It motivates us, the momentum, both of those, all those things. And we start to see there are good things happening versus we get in this cycle of saying, oh, poor me. You know, part of it we have to tell ourselves because there are good things that happened last week. Yes, there was some tough things that probably went on too. But we have to let ourselves know that creates that momentum, that creates that energy, gets you excited about your week, creates your positive culture for yourself. So that becomes the first one. Don't skip this page, okay? It's so easy to. I train this, I facilitate this. Guess what I want to do some days? Skip this page. Don't do it because what happens then? You know, we don't get that momentum. Then it has us do an after action review. And this is on your weekly big 3 the week before. So whatever you put down there is your weekly big 3, you would say how much of that did you get completed. Now again, remember, if you're breaking it down into a smaller chunk, put down what you want to get accomplished. Be specific here. Don't say if you got a goal to lose 50 pounds and, you know, you put down lose 50 pounds. Well, you're not going to lose that in a week. If you do, you probably won't be alive. So we don't want that one because you won't be able to fill out your weekly plan. So instead, put down, I'm going to lose 2 pounds this week. And if you've completed that, then you can put that down. So whatever you put on your weekly review and 100%, 50%, maybe you didn't get it all done that you wanted to. So maybe you only got 50% on it. If you got 0, then put 0. But put down how far you accomplished on that area. And then after that, basically you go into this area as what worked, what didn't. What are you doing here? You know, after action review, how far did you get? You've done that. Now what worked, what didn't work? What was the challenge? I didn't do my daily plan 3 out of 5 days. So I wasn't as prepared for each day. I didn't, whatever it is. I got too distracted by email. Several times each day I picked up my phone and then I got stuck in the social media for 30 minutes and I should leave that sit down. Whatever it is you put up there. Had my boss come to me, you know, your boss is not going to read this. My boss come to me and he threw a big project on my lap and said it had to be done by Friday and stuff. So it threw my week off and I wasn't able to plan like I wanted to. Whatever it is, put it down there. And then it's what will you improve, start, or stop. There's a method that they talk about, the KISS method, a little different than what you heard before. The KISS method is keep, improve, start, or stop. Okay? So each one of those we look at in that KISS method. What do I need to keep? What do I need to improve? What do I need to start? What do I need to stop? And when you start incorporating it in, you start to see what's some of the things I need to change as I go through the week. So that you'll fill that out. And then you see the same thing on step 3 is your list sweep, we call it. Deferred tasks, delegated tasks, daily notes, journal, goals, anything that you need to look at there, you look at those. If I have my goals down, I review my goals. If I have some things in the journal that I need to look back on, I take this time. Your weekly preview should take about 20 to 30 minutes. It's not a 5-minute thing. It's about a 20 to 30 minute thing. So this is giving you step 3, what you need to look at. And then it's giving you a weekly overview. What's some events, deadlines, tasks coming up for the week? And we do personal as well as professional there, if there's anything. They've got a page that you can use on that. But you can also, this page here, sometimes you can put down things that you have coming up the following week. People use this in multiple ways. I use this sometimes of marking down things that I know that I need to have come up next week. Like last week, I had in there about the full focus prep to get prepped up for this class and be ready for it. And then this week to be able to deliver that. So I could put down my calendar. But again, I carry this, so you can use this in other ways. When I was getting in the habit of exercising and I was tracking some food intake, I put it here. And they've now come out with a wellness planner that added a few things in that you can take a look at. But there's some nice pieces that you can use there. So you can use that however you want. And then step 5 is setting that big 3. Again, the key I want you to think about here is it does not have to be 3. It could be 1. It could be 2. But what's your most important things that you need to accomplish this week? And then break those down. If you got a goal, don't put the whole goal down. Put down what you need to accomplish in that goal this week. Like maybe one of your goals is that you get on a regular exercise routine. So then here you would put down, I will exercise 3 times this week, and I'm planning on doing it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it would be even great if you could say what you're going to do each of those days. Get specific for yourself. So you set out your weekly big 3. And from there, they've got a self-care planner, you know, like on sleep, eat, move, connect, relax. What are you going to do in those areas? In each one of those areas. What are you going to do in the sleep area? When do you want to get to bed at night? Or how many hours of sleep do you want? Eat. How are you going to eat well? Move. What are you going to do there? That's an exercise one there. Connect. Is there somebody you need to connect with? You know, or are you going to have a date night? And then what are you going to do to relax in each one of them self-care areas? So let me give you about 4 minutes to fill that out. I know you may not get completely done, and then we'll come back and we're going to put you back in breakout rooms to talk about it. But see how much you can get completed as you go. Everybody seeing full focus planner training now? Give me a thumbs up. Yep. Okay. Good deal. So let's talk a little bit about this on the full focus. We've done the personal and positive focus on that side of it. We're not going to do that part of it. Recapped. So we're going to jump right into what we call the goal detail pages. So the first 2 things you'll need is goal detail pages and annual goals. So if you'll take a look at that. You know, we all want to do goal setting, and how can that make a difference for us? And maybe you're already doing some goal setting in your business that you have, but maybe you need to make some improvements in certain areas in your goal setting. So I don't know where you're at on this journey, but I'm going to share some tips I think that will really make a difference for you that Michael Hyatt has really come up with. Most of us have heard of SMART goals, that you got to put your goals in the SMART method. He's actually come up with the smarter method, so we're going to share those with you and share that concept with you, and I think it can make a real difference. So if you'll go ahead and pull out your goal detail page, we're going to share that information there, and you can walk along with me. We're going to only have time to do one of your goal detail, but this would be one of those homework things that if you want to dig into and take deeper, you can do that. If not, and you want to only do a couple of them, that's fine. Just whatever works for you. But if you pull your goal detail page out, it'll look something like this that you'll see on this sheet there. And let's walk through that a little bit. So basically what he's sharing with us is the first thing we do is what we call a goal summary, okay? You write your SMARTER goal, and I'm going to come back and we're going to share what SMARTER is so you have the true acronym there. But you're going to write it in this SMARTER method in the goal setting. So that's the first thing that you'll look at is kind of that goal summary. And the reason that's so important is it's a framework. It allows you to be specific, measurable, actionable, risky, time-bound, exciting, and relevant. And that gives you right out there as a SMARTER framework that you need to use. And then when you see the next step there, I went too far, I think. So you see the key motivations. Also, you see in the middle, you see domain. They talk about 9 life domains, 2, 4, 6, 8. They've got 10 down here, 10 different life domains. So you can say it that it's in a certain area the life domain is. And some people like to be able to see what is that life domain that they're in, where does it best fit them. So, is this a health? So in that side of it, that may be more of your physical life domain. It's about relationships. You would check that one if it's financial, but what life domain it is. And there's multiple people have different there, but big thing is identifying what domain is it from. And then you'll look at it has the key motivators. You see there where the key motivators is on the screen, and this is where you want to rank and really ask, why do you want to get this done? It's really the key motivators is your why. What's going to propel you when it's tough? For Alan this morning, I don't know about the rest of you, but Alan and I was talking about this before you got on. He did his walk this morning. And a key motivator is to stay healthy. He knows he has to do his walk. For me today, it was body pump again. And I had to get up at 4:45 to get ready to go to body pump to be able to make that happen. So on my health side of it, what's my motivation behind it? Number one, it always makes me feel better. But why do I want to do it? And I don't skip this step. A lot of people skip this step. I would tell you, don't skip this because when it gets tough, you need to have those motivators to keep you rolling. The next thing you'll look at is down at the you'll see next steps. So next steps are kind of like the action steps to be able to achieve it. The things that you have to do. Let's use an easy one. If we want to lose weight, what's our motivators that's there? Maybe it's to get into a swimsuit or get to a size that we've not been for a while. But then when we look at our next steps, what do we have to change? Or what do we have to start doing? So my next steps may be, and losing weight may be starting to track my calorie intake or tracking my food intake. Maybe that's a next step that we want to do. Maybe a next step is that I start exercising 3 times a week or 2 times, whatever the number is. So that may be a next step. So you want to kind of think about what are the things that you have to do to be able to achieve that goal. And then we're going to break those down into smaller chunks that we can be able to do it. And then the next one you see there is that's so important is your reward. If you achieve that goal, reward yourself. I was just listening to a podcast last week and it talks about we really don't celebrate our milestones. So what do we need to do to celebrate that if we achieve that we really tell ourselves, great job. Doesn't have to be huge, but what is that? Could be a weekend getaway. It could be whatever it is that you want to do, but have that in that area. And then the last one you see is Street Tracker. And a Street Tracker is basically if you're creating a habit goal, then it's something that you do. I've told this before is the comedian Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld was asked by a young comedian, how did he become such a great comedian? And Jerry Seinfeld said, I wrote material every day. But he said, I had this board up on my wall that was 100 squares. And he said, I marked every day that I wrote material. If I missed a day, I had to start back from number 1. That's how you create a streak. That's how you create a habit. You've heard probably 21 days to make a habit. Actually, the true science says it's 66 days that you do it consistently. Doesn't mean you have to do it every day like exercise. I don't do it every day. But if I say 4 days a week that I do it, I track that I'm consistent on those 4 days and get my consistency there, that consistent discipline. So that's what that's for. An achievement goal allows you to really create a habit goal to be able to put in that area. So on smarter goals, what we're going to do is the big thing there is I want you to write it specific, not any of this stuff that says, I would like to. Also, it starts really normally with an action verb. So make sure you start with an action verb. So it needs to be specific, needs to be measurable. How are you going to measure it? The X to Y type setup. Actionable. How are you going to make that actionable? And then risky. Instead of just saying, oh, I think I can make that. What is something risky? What is going to propel you in the tough times that you're willing to try it? And then you'll see time bound, of course. When do you want to complete that by? And then, of course, is it exciting? Because if you're writing a goal and right off the top, you're not excited about it, you're never going to complete it. And then is it relevant to your life? One of the things that really is important to you that you want to be able to achieve. So when you do the smarter framework, it really walks you through that and gives you that gut check of saying, do I want to do it? And is it aligned with the demands of my life, my values, my passions, and the other goals that I have for each one of us? So as you go through, you'll mark the domain that you're in each one of them, and then you'll go through and put down your reward at the end. So what I'd like you to do now is I'm going to give you a few minutes. I'd like you to fill out one. If you get done and want to start another one, that's great. You are going to share on this. You don't have to share your goals, though. You just have to share with the individuals your process and what did you think about it? And did this help you having a process to be able to follow? But I'd like you to go ahead and fill out the goals. I've got 850, so I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to fill it out. So you may not get them completely done. Go ahead and get started. Yeah, we got everybody back. Well, welcome everybody. Hopefully you heard some great things. Hopefully you heard something that helps you. Kim and I ended up being in the same group because she, for some reason, got unassigned, so it worked out real well. But, you know, it's really about now you've got a system, and something that I thought we talked about that is so important I want to share with the rest of you. You won't be able to implement everything right away. Don't even try to. The 2 things we did the first day, daily and weekly planning, that you need to get started ASAP. You know, this weekend or tomorrow or Monday or whatever it is for you, you need to do your first weekly plan completely. And then you need to really get in that habit of that daily plan. And maybe then you move to the next step. Because we're going to give you a lot of stuff today. And some of you are going to go, whoo, don't go woo. Just say between now and the end of September, I'm going to do weekly plan and daily plan. And then you can do a quarterly preview because it's going to be the end of September, perfect timing. And you can get your quarterly preview down in that area. So just keep that in mind and don't think everything I share with you, you've got to start tomorrow in that area. So annual goals, I normally ask, you know, do you create annual goals? If you don't, this is something I would consider you do. I think it's one of the things that has allowed me to achieve the success that I've been able to achieve, that I've want to achieve. I don't think I'm some great person. I'm not trying to say that at all. But I believe goal setting, what it does, it allows you to achieve goals. Same way in workplace, you know, we've got several, Gabby and Alan, some of you that's in the workplace, you know, you get goals and kind of projects, things that you want to achieve. Well, you put that into your goal framework. It's going to make that easier to do because it's going to give you those bite-sized chunks instead of saying, whew, I've got a lot to do and how am I going to achieve it? We'll break it down in those smaller chunks that's there. So really on annual goals, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, is really all you do on annual goals is you write out your goal statement that's there. And sometimes the big thing you want to think about is, okay, you may have your big goal that is a year long, like let's say on weight, you know, I'm going to lose 50 pounds by the end of 12/31/25. Well, then you may break that down quarterly. I'm a big believer in doing quarterly goals and saying this quarter, maybe it's nothing about losing weight, but I'm going to exercise 4 times every week and I'm going to track my food intake every day. You know, or 6 out of 7 days a week. Maybe you give yourself a little bit of grace and stuff. So I'm a big believer in taking a yearly goal and then breaking them down in the 90 days chunk. Because otherwise what we do is we hear 50 pounds and man, January comes and we start working out in that gym and we start going. And then normally, you heard him say earlier, most of us lose that momentum within a couple weeks. Well, I've been going to the gym since 2002 now. And I can tell you the beginning, January and February, I don't like the gym as much because it's really busy. But by March, it's cleared out again. And a lot of times by the end of January, it's so much better. I said for the gym memberships, I just hope they sold them a year, because otherwise they're not going to get that revenue very long on that part of it. So break it down in them smaller chunks that you have there. So to me, annual goals, break that down to 90-day goals. And then those become action items that come into your weekly plan, and making, okay, what am I going to do this week? I know this week I'm going to exercise 5 times this week. And I actually put it in my calendar. I know what time, pretty well close to the time of when I'm going to exercise. Yesterday was my off day. I did Monday, Tuesday. I was off yesterday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday will be my 5 days that I get in. So I know in my head, as well as on my calendar, I make myself accountable by putting it into the calendar. So annual goals, I'm not going to really even give you time to fill that out if that's okay. We're coming up to the end of the year. If you want to fill that out, go ahead. But if you want to wait till the end of the year, this would be one of those good forms to kind of maybe get you started, then to break it down into the others that's there on the annual goals. So let's talk a little bit about optimizing your days and how we can do that as we go through this. And really what we're trying to do is really maximize your energy through some of this self-automation. And I'm going to share this up here with you because I want you to be able to see this in the screen here so you can really see it, because this soft automation becomes a key that we have to do. And it describes the process of automation applied to our personal behavior. If we don't get this, just like you heard with the comedian Jerry Seinfeld, he wouldn't have wrote material every day. But he had to make it self-automated, so he does it. And also he had triggers, something that he saw. He had a big wall with 100 squares on. If you don't have the big wall, Melissa, make a note, and we may have it in there already, but the habit maker, I've got a sheet 8.5 by 11 that's called the habit maker. It's based off of Jerry Seinfeld's philosophy. I'll share it with you, and you can use that if you want. And then you start using it as your check mark. You miss a day that's scheduled, then you've got to start over. Automation is typically a thought routine activity that can be handled by a machine. In business, that might be an email autoresponder, automated voice menu, spell checker on the computer. Time and energy is saved by putting these activities into autopilot. So we know what automation is. Here's the benefits of automation. This is what I want to stress to you, the benefits and stuff. Researchers estimate the average person makes 35,000 decisions every day. The executive function of the brain leads to exhaustion. So the problem is, if I want to lose weight and I want to eat healthy, the problem is I went through all day and I've had a stressful day and I get home and there's nothing to eat. Well, shoot, I'm just going to the Mexican restaurant then, because I can get quick 10 minutes, I can get the food and I can be back home. But of course it blows the rest of the day. So that's decision fatigue. So you got to put yourself in when you have the increased mental capacity that you'll do it. And your creativity is better in those areas. So self-automation can drastically reduce the number of choices that you make in each day. It frees you up, your mind, it reduces your stress, it frees up that brain power for other more important things. That becomes huge in increased energy. Second one, better problem solving and creativity. The more decisions and actions automated through a habit, the more headspace for creative thought. Freedom is to ponder problems and ideas and make unseen connections leads to increased innovation. Why is this so important? We don't give ourselves enough time to think anymore. What did I tell you have to do for weekly planning? You got to give yourself 20 to 30 minutes to make that happen. What do you got to do in daily planning? You've got to give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. Come on, folks. If we can't give ourselves 5 or 10 minutes, we're running on a cycle that is going to burn out. And we burn out in that. So what can we do to make that happen? Number 3, greater productivity. I love this stuff, so sorry I get pretty passionate about it, but hopefully you are there with me on that. You see what the studies show. 40% of our daily activities are done automatically. Once you do them a few times, the subconscious takes over. I've read some pretty dry books about conscious behavior and subconscious behavior, and it's pretty amazing. If we can get our subconscious to take over, guess what? You start doing them without thinking. That's what's going to happen with your daily and weekly plan. You're going to be ticked off when you don't do it. In fact, it actually takes more effort not to do them. You have to think about it when you want to do something different. So think about that as you go through there, and they give you all the reasoning behind it. Number 4, it's going to improve your well-being. Make habits the center of activities for rest and rejuvenation. We have to set ourselves up to be consistent. How do I create a consistent bedtime? If you're not getting 7 to 9 hours a night, you're hurting yourself. And so I know there's people out there, and you may be one of them, say, oh, I can function on 5 hours. But it's costing you in other areas. Once the habits have been installed, they require no self-discipline to maintain because they become a habit. And it's the same with a healthy lifestyle. I talk about this one a lot because it's one we see. I get asked all the time. I think I've told you my story. I was 275 pounds in 2002. November 18th, not that I can remember the date, but that's the day I started. Within 1 year, I lost 75 pounds. But it was consistency and it was discipline. It was about eating right and it was about exercising. Of course, I was a hell of a lot younger then because that's been 20 some years ago. So I had metabolism on my side too. It still, today, what is allowing me to get there? By eating right and exercising. So it becomes a consistent habit. If I don't exercise, it actually throws me off in a week if I haven't done it. Now, always on vacation, I don't exercise every time, but normally we do active vacations. We're walking, hiking, doing some other things. The third one is greater goal achievement. For example, if you write a goal to write 750 words each day after breakfast from January to March 31st as a habit goal, but it could be also an achievement goal, like complete 40,000 word book manuscript by June 30th. Solid habit goals lead to more consistent completion of achievement goals. So just think about that as you're creating your goal achievement. It gives you increased energy, productivity, creativity, and well-being. So all the mechanisms behind this automation is to really take your habits to transfer routine decisions and tasks to the subconscious versus the conscious. What did I tell you earlier? I think I told you this on Tuesday. With my exercise, I did it again last night. All my clothes were laid out. All my vitamins were laid out. Everything was set up. My water bottle was right where I know to get it, right by the refrigerator to be able to fill it up in the morning. So when I got up this morning and the alarm went off, I went straight into my room, put on my workout clothes, washed my face a little bit, threw some water on it to wake up a little bit. And then I went in and did the things that I do with my vitamins and getting my water ready and getting everything set there. Then I put my shoes on and then I was ready to go, and my wife didn't go today, so I left to leave a little bit earlier. All that, I didn't have to think about it. It was all set. It's pre-bound. It's already here. It's in the subconscious, so I act on it. Willpower requires conscious decision. And that's when we have that executive function of the brain is basically that prefrontal cortex, and it says, I don't want to do this. And normally what will happen? We won't do it then. So basically really look at it. I'll let you read it. I'm not going to read each one to you and stuff, but you've got to not go by willpower. Willpower will only take you so far. Once your willpower is gone, you're not going to get there. The good news is it is possible to tap into the part of the brain that does things automatically. That's where the habit loop comes in. I want to share this with you. The activation trigger is the cue for the habit. That's my alarm. It can be any circumstance that really gives you a response, a time of day, a location, event, emotional state, or even a presence of a particular person. So activation trigger. Pick up your phone. What's the response normally? Check my freaking social media. Activation trigger. Walk into the kitchen. Open the refrigerator. Same way. My alarm goes off. Okay, if it's a workout morning, then what am I going to do? The response is what we think of the habit itself. The behavior becomes automated. It can include daily grooming, taking medication, ordering. How many of you brushed your teeth this morning? Hopefully all of you are raising your hand, but that's a habit, right? If we order a particular meal at a restaurant, doing a household chore, responding to message, tracking expenses, opening a message or an email, all that becomes a tracking that's there. And then we end up with the reward. And behavior scientists, starting with Ivan Pavlov in the 19th century, have seen in the relationship between reward and repeated behavior. He rang the bell every time the dog was given food. After a while, he could make the dog salivate without the reward of food just by ringing the bell. So what is that reward for you? Body pump this morning that I did, when I got done at 6:30, we're all like sweating and everything else. But you know what the reward is? I know I've got it done and check mark, I've completed that task for the day. And I know I'm going to feel better the rest of the day because now I'm past that side of it. I know how it makes me feel throughout the day. So basically, to form a habit, create the habit loop. That's why I'm sharing this with you, because I've not had this in past ones they think so important that you have. Define what you want to achieve. You got to define what that is. And you got to be specific. Don't give generalities here. Choose a target behavior. The target behavior is the response element of the habit loop, remember. Okay? The response should be directly connected to the desired outcome of that achievement. 3, state the frequency and duration of the habit. You heard me say, I know this week I'm exercising 5 times. Okay? So I know that each week. And some weeks it's only 4. Most weeks it's at least 4. But there is occasion I may have a 3 week, but then I may try to get some walks in that area. But I tell myself that frequency and duration, and I put it in my calendar. I don't put it up to chance. I mark it. And then clarify the habit loop. Planner users, you should identify and write down the activation trigger. What's the reward for they're trying to create? The response and reward should be included in your goal detail pages. So we're giving you a place to be able to put them. Step 5 is determine how to track that progress and state compliance with what your standard that you're setting. So how are you going to accomplish this? And that's where your streak trackers and the planner come in. Or you can use an external app if that works better for you. Or you can use my one sheet. That's just 100 squares on it. And you can mark what the habit is, or goal that you want to create, and the habit, and you can use the habit maker to be able to do it. And then clarify those key motivations, those next steps, the rewards. Make sure you tell yourself this. And what's going to be that celebration when you achieve it? And give yourself small celebrations too. If you got a year goal, if you set a quarterly goal and you've achieved it, give yourself a quarterly reward, Don't wait till the year is up that you do it. Maybe the big reward is the yearly goal, but the quarterly goal, make sure you put it there too. And then step 7 is state and complete the habit goal in the full focus planner. It gives you commitment. There's a connection between our brain and thumb when we write things. It's great to have electronic tools, but the thing is when we use our brain and thumb and we use that, it helps us achieve things better. So, any questions there? I went on a rant a little bit there. I apologize for that. But I think it's so important because this is one of those areas that, man, it can make a huge difference in your life. And the nice thing is you're going to get the recording of this. So if you want to watch that again or an area that you want to do maybe later, you're going to have availability to be able to do that. My whole goal is to help people achieve what they're trying to do. And that's the thing. That's my passion, my purpose. In my mission statement, it says share knowledge with others. I don't think I know it all. And I wished I'd say I'm perfect at this. I do a great job. In certain ways, my exercise I've got down, but there's other ways I'm not. And I've got to improve in those areas. And that's why I love facilitating it, because what happens? I start doing it myself because I'm telling myself right now, you need to get better at this, Gary, in certain areas. So if there's, let me look at real quick. Okay. Okay, there's just a couple questions. Looks like Melissa answered them. Did she get those answered like you want it, Kaylee? Now let's talk about daily rituals, because this can help us too in this process. We're going to talk about 4 daily rituals that can make a real difference for you to start thinking about. Again, you may not get all this implemented right away. These are things due over time. Maybe you just start implementing 1 daily ritual, like a morning ritual. Most of us already have a morning ritual. We get up. Some of us hit the snooze button 2 or 3 times, or 4 or 5. Hopefully it's not that more than that. But the thing is, what is your morning ritual? And then you go get your cup of coffee. Maybe then you get dressed and you get showered and get ready to go. Like I said, brush your teeth, however it is. Some people have that. But what I'm talking about, where are you going to give yourself some time? Maybe your morning ritual is where you do your daily plan. You give yourself, you get up 15 minutes earlier. Instead of hitting that snooze button 3 times, you actually get up on the first time. Actually, there's science by Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule, that says if you get up when your alarm goes off, you're less tired than if you hit the snooze button. But again, what is that? That's a habit that we have to get out of, because the habit is we hit the snooze button because we think it makes us feel better. But science shows that it actually makes us tired. No matter if you hit it once, twice, or 3 times, it doesn't give you more rest because you're never going in any type of deep sleep that's there. So morning ritual may be saying, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes of me time. And maybe in that me time, I'm doing my daily plan. Maybe I'm doing just some thinking. I'm looking at what my agenda is today and how I'm going to achieve it. Maybe I want to put a spiritual component in it, that I read something spiritual. My morning ritual on every day but Tuesday and Thursdays, my morning ritual is in the morning. I get up, I go to my room, that's a separate room, and basically I do my spiritual time. I do some little bit of gratitude, and then I also do some book reading. And mine is an hour long. Yours doesn't have to be an hour long. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 10 minutes. I built up to an hour. I was not an hour at the beginning. So what is that morning ritual besides just getting dressed, getting ready to go? And then the workday startup ritual, basically this is just getting started on your startup of your workday. You know, do you jump right into email? Maybe that's when you do your daily plan is the first thing. But if you walk into your place and it's crazy, don't make that your workday startup ritual. Okay, workday shutdown ritual. What do I do to close out? Maybe this is when you do your planning for the next day. Again, some people do it at the end of the day. You close out what you had. I told you yesterday before I left the office, I had my workday shutdown ritual there, and I did my planning for today because I knew this morning when I came in, I would be jumping into going into this training. And then the last one is the evening ritual. You know, how do you want to kind of close out the day? Maybe you're the type that you like to read in the evening, so maybe you put that there. Maybe you need to do some stretching. I need to get better at this. I'm not good at this, but in the evening to do some stretching so I sleep better. Maybe it's whatever it is for you. And this is where I would be careful, because this is where screen time is. You need to really get away from where screen time and then you go to bed. Science shows again that if we watch screens, doesn't matter if it's a computer, you're on your computer, or if you're watching a TV show and then you try to go to bed, you don't get as good a sleep. They say you should have an hour before those activities. So what is that? Maybe I need to, if I want to go to bed by 9 o'clock, then I've got to shut off screens by 8 o'clock, and maybe I have some time for myself. Get ready for bed, do some stretching, do some reading, whatever it is, but no screen time. Again, that's up to you if you want to do it. I don't do that every night either, but most nights I do, where I get off my screen and I've got that time. Just remember, a ritual or practice is a behavior regularly performed in a set manner. That's what a ritual is. It's really creating that habit of behavior that you regularly perform in a set manner. And it allows you, again, what happens? You're not consciously thinking about it. It goes to the subconscious in that area. So there's a place here that you're going to get to fill out. I would tell you just start with the morning ritual and the workday startup ritual, because I'm only going to give you a couple minutes. And allot your time for it too. But what do you want to do in those activities on your morning ritual? And then think about your startup ritual that's there also. When you come into work, how do you start up? Think about how could that be different than what it is today? And fill those out. They also have on the back, there's the evening ritual and the shutdown ritual. But let's try to get those done. And then we're going to share just a little bit in those real quick as a group. I'll give you, it's 9:23. I'm going to give you just a couple minutes. See what you can fill out there. Okay. This is one of those concepts, I'll be honest, I just loved about the ideal week, because it's a tool for envisioning kind of the major priorities that you have and standing appointments, and really helps you put your typical activities in a regular week type that's there. And it's also a way that you can really maximize your energy. So it really allows you to get out and say, okay, what's most important each week? Doesn't give you a complete plan, but it gives you a piece that's really there. So why it is so important is really it allows us to take that time to really decide what's most important. You've heard me say this a couple times, but what it does is you map out. You don't have to every block on your calendar filled. But let's say you do want to start that exercise. You can block that and tell yourself what days will be that each week that I'm going to do exercise. And you can have Monday be different than Tuesday and Wednesday be different than Thursday. that's there. And then you could say morning ritual. And if you have that defined out what your morning ritual is, you can have that defined. And you can put that in. When will I do that? So you start to tell yourself what time I need to get up. All we're trying to do is make that subconscious, that automation kick in. And then if we've got to start work at 8 o'clock, of course, maybe the first 15 minutes is our workday startup. Depending how long it takes, if it takes 30 minutes, but I try not to have anything but my startup so I can review my day or whatever I need to do in that workday startup that I have there. And then you can kind of put in the others. We're all going to have appointments. This morning I knew from 8:30 to 10:30 I need to be here at Full Focus facilitating this course. So I don't have every week planned out. But if you notice, normally Tuesday I did this, but I will occasionally on Tuesdays normally from 8 to noon are my productivity time, is my high leverage work where I do my planning, my not just planning, but kind of creating those type of things because I have to create in this business. So what I do is I know Tuesday is a very productive day for me. It's the second day of the week. Can't do that same thing on Monday. So I need my greatest brain power. Melissa and I, for the last couple months, have been working on redoing our website. So we've been meeting every Tuesday about 8:30 to noon to really line out and brand script our website of what we want it to look like. And she's getting it there. Learned a few things on a podcast today, Melissa, I'll be sharing with you that we can tweak it even better. And we haven't launched it yet, but we're in that process of really putting it out. We've done that every Tuesday pretty well. We've missed a few of them because I've been gone or something of that nature, but for the last couple months. But that's my high leverage work Tuesday mornings. And I know that. Mondays look different than Tuesday. And then normally on the afternoon, I'd rather meet with my clients in the afternoon than give up my good morning time because I'm a little more, what the right word, but I think I'm just a little more sharp on my creative side in the morning. In the afternoon, not as creative. Well, working with my clients, I still have to use some creativity, but a lot of it is coaching them through that. So I find out in my afternoon, I put more of those items down in that. So what it's doing is it's allowing you to say, what do you want your ideal week to look like? And sometimes it's about batching. We've started doing this. A couple weeks ago, Melissa and I did 10 different short videos. So what are some things that you can batch? Batching allows you to take similar tasks, smaller tasks, and knock them out. And when I do 10 of them, we've got them all filled out now through the end of the year. All of our videos are done. Now they have to be edited and she has to get those done, but she sends them off to somebody that takes care of that. But that's now done, my part. So by batching, I'm able to get more done. So that's something you want to think about. And then they even talk about mega batching where you even take it on a larger scale. So ideal week, the big thing that you want to think about is here, there's 4 stages to it. The first one, you want to assess your current realities, okay? That becomes the first thing you want to think about. What's that current reality? How is it now? Well, I'm just everywhere, Instead, now you've got to change that and say, you're not filling every day in, but you're starting to look at your days differently, okay? And then once you do that, it will be unique to the individual. Remember, and it can change daily. Mine changes pretty well daily on that side of it. And then my groups similar work together on that side of it. And then I leave space in my calendar for the other areas. So, of course, I may want to meet with clients on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday afternoons. But of course, if something else comes up where I got a speaking engagement that I could do, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that speaking engagement in there. But that becomes some of those days that I want to be able to do it. Fridays now, I'll be honest, I'm going to be honest with you. I normally take Fridays off now. I started doing that about 1.5 years ago, and Friday is an off day for me. But man, if somebody wants me to speak, I'll probably go do that speaking engagement on that Friday. But the problem I'm trying not to do is do that every Friday. And I don't. But I give myself that space to be able to adjust from my ideal week that's there. But as you kind of take a look at it, you're putting those together and you're mapping them. Some of you are saying, well, from 8 to 5, I'm at work. Okay, I understand you're at work. But the question I got to ask you, what are your most important items where maybe you should plan it out? Where you have your productivity time. Because what a lot of us do is this, we come into work, we may even have our daily plan, and we get on email, and then we look down and, oh shoot, 2 hours just went past. And we didn't get anything else done besides we were just in our inbox. And that's what's happening to the workforce today. Productivity is actually reducing, and we have more technology than we've ever had. So the thing is, maybe what you do is you block tasks to do your email. 4 o'clock, do I get it every week, every day that I work? No. But from 4 to 5 is clean up email. Okay. Now, and then what I'm trying to do, I'm not perfect at this, so I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that I am, but I try to look at it first thing in the morning, see if there's anything I need to clean up on that side after I've done my morning ritual, clean that up, and then go into my productivity stuff that I need to do. And then take a quick look after lunch. What do I need to do? And then move on. And I'll be honest, it's even affecting me. And one of the things I'm working towards is I'm going to have somebody take care of my email. Because, man, I can go down some rabbit holes too. You know, somebody sends me something that's about training and coaching or something of that nature. Boy, I'm going to dig into that right away. And then an hours went by and I've lost it. So what I want you to think about is one of those times. I used to talk about a system called PRO. That's peak productivity time. That's our most important, that's our high leverage work. And then the R was that recovery. What are you doing in recovery time? And the O was the office staff, office items that I need to take care of. But you can think about it whichever way you want. But how can I break that week down in those areas? And sometimes you're going to be in training, so you just put that in. So a lot of times, the way they talked about on categories of activity, I told you mine. Oh, I lost share here. Oh, my PowerPoint just wanted to stop. I just love technology when it works, you know. Hang on 1 second here, folks. Okay. Okay, that's where we were, right? 3 categories of work, but let's swap displays. Okay, so the first one you could think about, what's your high leverage work? That's your most productive thing. You know, if you're doing training, it may be when you're actually training, or it may be when you're planning your training, you're prepping, you're getting ready for it. That would be high leverage work. If it's, you know, healthfully, Alan, some of the things you do, what's that high leverage work that you do? The other is that administrative work. You know, we have to check our email. But the question is, and each business is different, are you dependent that everything comes through email? And that becomes a whole company thing that you got to talk about, because if they expect once they send an email that you respond, it's going to be hard to be productive. And that's something you have to have discussions with, maybe with your boss. You know, I'm not always going to be available, especially, you know, if we're not and we're doing training, because several of us do training that's on this here, we're not going to be readily available. Maybe have an email that goes back to them and let them know that I'm unavailable today because I'm doing a training class. And then those personal activities. You build all that in those categories of activities in your ideal week. Just remember, on ideal week doesn't mean you have to have each day blocked completely. You can have some of the other areas. So maybe you just have 8 to 10 blocked, and 10 to 12 is open time that you have available. And then you have time blocked in the afternoon, certain things blocked. But you've got those spaces, and that's where you put in your meetings or the other things, or meetings with other people that you need to have that can be put in there. Feel like I didn't do a good job explaining that. So is there any questions? If it is, just come off, speak, and share.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So sorry, which category would meetings fall under?
You could do it it depends on your business. Sometimes it could be administrative, because if you're meeting with your staff, those type of things, a lot of times that could be administrative. If it's high leverage where it's client, like client meetings, that would be high leverage work, because they're going to be paying me, or potentially could be paying me. So to me, I would put that in the high leverage side of it.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
And then that's where that block comes in. Like with my coaching clients, I have on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday afternoons are normally open for clients to put in there. But of course, I don't have clients every day. Like today, I don't have a client after 1:30 that's available. So then now what will I do? I'll put in the things I need to do that's in there.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Go ahead and fill this out some. We're not going to discuss this one. This is one that takes some time to build in, but I want to give you time to think about it and just think about it. And think about too, don't just do your work day. Think about that morning time. What time should you be getting up? What time are you getting up? Do you want to change that? Do you want to have that 30 minutes or 15 minutes of your own personal time? Put that in there too. If it's exercise, put that in there. What days do you think you'll do that? Okay, I know you didn't get that finished, but that's one of those things that you'll work on. I will tell you, this is one of those things that I look at every quarter. I mean, sometimes I adjust it through the week, but pretty well I set my calendar up, even my electronic calendar, you know, that my mornings on Tuesdays, that's blocked because I have a calendar program that people can go in and schedule appointments. But because I have that blocked that I'm busy, they can't get my calendar at those times. So I have it in my calendar. But every quarter, when you do a quarterly preview, and we'll be talking about that, I change it. I may adjust it and stuff. I know next year I'm already going to make some adjustments on Mondays of how I'm going to make an adjustment going into this next quarter that I'm going to start working on. So it's a great time to review your ideal week. What's working, what's not? How do I need to adjust it? It's there. Leslie had a great question on, is there a guideline for how to order the Pages docs? Basically, the planner, we'll put you up a link on affiliate link, and you can order those at any time and stuff on that side. If you don't mind using our affiliate link, we get a small little piece there. We would appreciate that. If you don't, it's not that big a deal to me on that side of it. But we'll have a link there that you can do it. And they've got some different planners that you can use. You can use loose leaf sheets, or you can do the others, but they're all filled out. And they've just come out with a wellness planner too. So that's all available on their sheet. So ideal week is one of those things that you kind of got to figure out. It's one of those, you're not going to have it right the first time. And it's a document every quarter that you kind of adjust in each one of those areas. Anybody, any other questions on that? Monthly calendar, I'm not going to spend much time here. I'll be honest, I don't use this. You may. It could be big events that you have. But the thing is, I got all those big events right here. You know, I have everyone's birthday. I've got one of my clients, it's their anniversary today, and I know they got married in 1998. So guess what I will be doing? I will be sending a message. Actually, I do a video message. And I give them a video message, and it's their anniversary. So I know how many years. It's 26 years. So I will be sending that message to them. That's on my computer, so I don't need this. But again, if you want to use it, that's what monthly calendar is. If you want to put it in there, you have that available to you. So won't spend much time there. Quarterly preview, we do want to spend some time on. So pull your quarterly preview out because this is coming up pretty quick. And that's the cool thing about doing this, we can go right into it right off the bat here because we're already in September. And this is one I'd highly recommend you do on that side of it. And this one may take more than 30 minutes. Sometimes it could take up to an hour to do this because you're looking at all those different components. So let's talk about how this can really create clarity for you and create momentum when you do a quarterly preview. So really, it's pretty simple. You're looking back at the quarter. What do we do on a weekly preview? What's your biggest wins? What's your biggest wins for your quarterly preview? Personally and professionally. Write it down. Gives you some momentum, gives you some energy. I did get something accomplished last quarter. Gosh, yay! You know, it tells us that. After action review, what is those actions there? How far did you get looking back on some of the things that you did? That happened last quarter. Identify where there can be improvements in that step 2. What worked? What didn't work? Maybe I didn't do very good on my daily planning or weekly planning. Be honest with yourself. Nobody else has to see this but you. But where did I fall short? What areas do I want to improve on? What worked? What didn't? But tell yourself what did work, but what didn't. Maybe my ideal week, I found out that on Thursdays, that day is not working out how I had scheduled or planned. So I make that adjustment, make that change that I want to make there. And then what will I keep doing? We're going back to the KISS method. What will I keep doing? You know, and you don't have to put everything down here, but what are the things that really you put in practice last quarter? I need to make sure I keep doing this. What do I need to improve? Where do I need to improve on? This takes thinking, planning. See how we get to ask ourselves these tough questions, and this is where we can be accountable to ourselves. What will I stop doing or start doing? I'm sorry. Maybe there's something you want to start doing, and maybe there's something you want to stop doing. So you answer all those questions, just gives you that accountability in each one of those areas. And then step 4, you may not have, it's with a life plan review. They do have a life focus thing that I've been certified in on that. I am doing my first one in November, actually, with my mastermind group. And if that's something you'd be interested in, just let me know, because it's something that I'm debating to do as a group that's available and things of that nature. But this is looking at your life. Even if you don't have your life plan, you probably have some things you want to accomplish. So it would just be trying to pull those up to yourself and saying, what's most important to me? But then it does come back on step 4, and it gives you an annual goal review. So if you do have annual goals, this is where your accountability, you look back at what those annual goals are. I would even look at my quarterly goals of what I placed in quarterly that I wanted to accomplish. What did I get done there? And here it gives me a time to really check and change what I need to change. And I get to set my new quarterly goals. If I have annual goals, now what's my new quarterly goal that I need to do to be able to achieve that goal, to break it down into smaller chunks there. So it gives you that review. And then it gives you a monthly calendar review. So what's your big rocks? You know, you've heard that saying probably from Franklin Covey. What's the big rocks? What's the most important things for you? Major events coming up. What's some, deadlines? Like, I'll give you an example. I know next week, but I knew it for several, and I've actually ordered her gift ahead of time. Dana's birthday is next week. Now I just hope it comes in. It says it's supposed to be here from the 12th to the 19th. It's the 18th, so it has to come in before then on that side of it. But I've actually ordered that gift, so I know her birthday's coming up. If there's a big event coming up, then I can take a look at that monthly calendar review and say, okay, these are the big things coming up this quarter that I need to remember about. And then step 6, you look at that ideal week again. What worked, what didn't work. You can change whatever you need to. You can adjust it. And don't fill up every slot in the ideal week, but this gives you a chance to take a look at that, what you want to do there. And then it gives you a daily rituals review. So let's look at those rituals. What's working, what's not working. Maybe I tried to implement too much. I tried to implement all 4 rituals and I did none of them. So maybe what I tell myself this quarter, I'm going to get my my wake up ritual down. And I'm not going to worry about the other 3. I'm just going to do this one. And then you work on that. And then, of course, if there's any new daily pages, anything in the planner that you want to have, then you can put in step 8 that's there. So let me give you a minute or two and just kind of think through it at this point in time, give you a chance to look at it in each one of those that's there. And I think you have the sheets on there and you'll have that in your item. This one comes up. Nice thing is it's coming up quick because it's one that we should do every quarter. So now the thing is, really probably what I'd like you to think about is, when are you going to put this in that you're going to do this between now and the end of September? Doesn't have to be the last day of September you can do it. You could do it at any point now because you're setting it up for October. So when are you going to do that to put that in your plan? And then let's just open up for a little bit of discussion on that and what you think of the quarterly preview. This is a hard one. I'll be honest with you. I even struggle with it because I think I don't have time. But every time I do it, it makes improvements on it. So, Gabby, would you share with me, if you looked at a quarterly preview, how do you think that would help you?
I think if I've done like all of them, it would probably help me at the end of the year to realize how much I've done throughout the year.
Ooh, great.
And then especially for performance reviews, it could help me like reiterate, like, here's what I've done, like, here's my accomplishments.
That's excellent, Gabby. I love that. So to actually build, and if anyone has leaders, people that they report to, Melissa gets a 90-day review every 90 days. Guess what that does to my yearly review? It's really no different because I have it. It's all the same because I do it on a quarterly basis. So it makes that a lot easier. Excellent philosophy. Great. How about for you, Kaylee?
I knew it was going to be my name. Um, so whenever Gabby was saying, just kind of like reflecting and kind of just seeing performance wise, like considering this is both personal and professional, it's kind of weird to think about my performance in my personal life, but it was kind of nice too. It's kind of like a perspective thing, like because I'm always kind of down on myself, like, man, like I'm just not getting things done. Like I don't feel like I'm not really getting anywhere, nothing's really happening. So to really like be able to look back and see like, oh, I mean, I guess I did do this. Like it's just kind of a good reflection, especially like at the end of the year, like kind of like what Gabby was saying. So it'll be nice to see the wins, but then also see like, okay, so next year around this time, things got a little less productive. Like, how can I be a little bit more productive in that time of year? Because seasonal depression is definitely a thing. So maybe just kind of like when I know that is coming, like how I can maybe take a little bit off of my plate and just kind of focus a little bit more on the personal side versus professional side.
Good feedback. Yeah, and I think I said on step 6, self-care planner, a nice thing it has is look at those: sleep, eat, move, connect, relax. So, you're really taking in all parts of your life when you look at it. The hardest part is telling ourselves to do it. How we set that. And that's setting up a time and giving you the time and space to be able to actually complete it. Anybody else, any feedback? Don't be bashful. Okay. So that's one. We're not going to do that right now because that's one where, since we're coming up on a quarter, the challenge I would tell you is decide when you're going to implement that or when you're going to do it this quarter, because basically we're coming up to it. So between now and September 30th, get that time blocked on your calendar that you're going to do it for yourself in that area. The next one, they talk about really how can I implement this in the planner with my team? Kind of, because the other team members could benefit from this too. So one, you could use that hybrid. I'm a firm believer of that, digital and analog. That's what I do. You don't even have to use the analog version. They do have a digital version online now, but that doesn't work for me, but however it works. But the big thing is the integrating the planner tools. You can also integrate them in your everyday team leadership. So you're taking the concept of the big 3 each week. And if you have someone that reports to you, what's your big 3 items, 1 to 3? You have to explain what that is. What's our most important thing we need to get done this week? Well, if you have a meeting with them every week, then you could follow up the next week. How did you progress on those? Did you get those done? And then you could also talk about those big 3 for the next week, what they're going to do that next week that's on their big 3. So that's how you can really implement it in with your team, is using some of the concepts and sharing. Don't try to give them everything. Start small, and just the biggest way I would start is, what's your 1 to 3 biggest items that you need to complete this week is most important that you get accomplished, and having that discussion with them. And then you could start talking about some of the other planning tools that's there when you're looking at your team. The other thing that's in there is rolling quarters in there. Again, this is something that I don't really use because I have it all on my computer. But again, if you need that, they do have that built into it, where if you want to look so you can look things out on multiple quarters and you'd rather see it on paper, you can definitely do that in each one of those areas in the rolling quarters. So, and then they have another one. This is kind of fun because key projects, if you pull that one out on your key projects, basically, it allows you, if you have a big project, to really, how can you list these out that you have? And what is that project that you have? Really thinking through, what do I need to get accomplished to be able to get that project done? And it gives you a space to list your most important tasks for the upcoming quarter on that project. So you can write out more important projects. You can get your project number down. You can put due dates for yourself in there. You could then transfer them to your phone if you want, or a calendar. But you could have those dates there. This would be one of those areas, if you put some of those in, when you do your weekly plan, you would come back to that. How am I progressing on that project? Am I moving forward to it in each one of those areas? But it gives you projects, gives you due dates, gives you a way to look at your weekly big 3. How can I list the 3 objectives or one of the objectives of this project that I want to complete this week to be able to get it done in the weekly project? So that's just another tool that's available to you that's in there. So the thing that you're seeing, and some of you are already feeling it, I can even see it in the faces, even though we're on Zoom, I can see some of them is like, oh my God, this is a lot. It is. But the big thing is, I want you to think about the mastering the mindset. That's how we achieve success, is really getting ourselves in the mindset. I'm going to make some of these changes. Again, I told you earlier, don't try to make all the changes right away. Give yourself time to implement them. Between now and end of September, there are two things. If you're not consistent on weekly planning and daily planning, that should be your two. If you want to add a third, maybe it's your morning ritual. But that should stop there on that side. And then set aside those limiting beliefs. All of us know what limiting beliefs is. It's when we say, well, that works for Gary, but that won't work for me. You know, that's a limiting belief. And we can succeed at work and life if we're willing to put that in, so we don't have to be in that hustle fallacy that's there. So it's effectively true when we believe. So when you think about limiting beliefs, I don't have time to pursue bigger goals. I don't have time to make goals. Whatever you want to say, those are limiting beliefs that's there. So replace those limiting beliefs with liberating truths. Liberating truths provide the power that comes from having a solid, positive, and true thoughts of oneself. Complete the past. Everyone has setbacks and failures in life. We all have. That's normal. But to be successful, it's necessary for your mindset to tell yourself 7 reflective questions. Let's talk about what these are now. If my life was a movie, what genre would it be? Might be romance, adventure, comedy, tragedy. You decide. How about number 2 question? What were the major recurring themes? These themes can be stated in single words or phrases such as deeply meaningful, or maybe financial struggles that we have. How about number 3? What accomplishments make you the most proud? Think of multiple areas in your life. What's your biggest wins? Give yourself credit where it's due. I've talked about gratitude. We've talked about wins. We've talked about positive focus. Those are all similar things. But we have to tell ourselves, we have to remind ourselves, because we're so much in the cycle that we get done with a week and we don't even realize we've had a lot of wins. And that's why they want you to write them down. Number 4, what do you feel you should have been acknowledged for that weren't? You know, maybe there's some hidden hurts that's there. So you bring those out for yourself. What disappointments or regrets did you experience? Let that out. Acknowledge it. You know, we let ourselves down sometimes. Go ahead and put it there. Where did others let you down? What's missing from the last few years when I look back? Maybe in my life domains, if I look at them, maybe I've not concentrated on this area enough. Maybe I need to spend some time there. And then what were the major life lessons I've learned recently? Let's learn from things. Live and learn. That is the key. That becomes the thing instead of saying, poor me. We can be victim or we can be victor. Excuse me. We can be victim or victor. You know, we made mistakes. All of us have. Every one of us can raise our hand there. But we don't have to be victim over those same things. Instead, we can be that victor. And that's changing that mindset. And I want you to anticipate the future with expectation. That's why smarter goals and having goals are so important. But keep them few in number. Don't get 20 goals out there. You know, in a life domain, try to have 1. And I wouldn't even have in all 9 or 10 life domains. What's the most important life domains right now? You need to have those goals in. You know, 3 to 5 tops. You know, because if you have 10 goals, oh my gosh, going to feel pretty overwhelming. And then review those frequently. When I do my weekly plan, one of the things I do is review my goals. You know, every week. Every morning that I do my morning ritual, I read my quarterly goal that I have. I have a statement for that goal, and then I have a quarterly goal, and I read that to remind myself this is what I'm working on. Do I accomplish all those? No. I've been wanting to write a book all year. I've got the outline done. It's as far as I've gotten. But it's time Gary decides, okay, let's take the time and make it happen. And then share your goals. If you've got somebody that can be an accountability and help you focus on it, do that. Plan for that consistency. You've heard me say multiple times about consistency. It's about creating that consistency. When we do that, we progress towards our goals. We progress towards the things we want to do. And then get clear on the goal. Make sure you know why it's important. Clarify it. I tell business owners all the time, excuse me, one of my sayings is business owners, a lot of them have vision, but they have very little clarity of how they will get there. I don't think it's different for individuals. You don't have to be a business owner. I say it because I coach business owners, but it's the same thing in our own life. How many of us know we want to achieve something? You have that vision, but you have no clarity on how you're going to actually get to the destination. Take off the glasses and find out the clarity. Open up. What is that? What do I need to do? Some of the tools we gave here will give you that. But it's also about accountability, but it's also about reviewing it and say, I want to get there. What's the right behavior to get there? Start with incremental progress versus I have to do this and I have to get there. If I would have looked back and thought right out the gate when I was 275 pounds, I need to lose 75 pounds to get where I wanted to go, I probably would have never started. They did an assessment with me, and I did that assessment, and they said we'd start exercising and work on that, but I never really did. At the time, I'll be honest, in my own brain, I had that if I got down to 235 pounds, I'd be in really good shape, and I'd be pretty excited about it. We got down to 235 and even said, well, that's where I wanted to get to and stuff. And the lady says, you want us to do that analysis? Let's do that analysis again. Did the analysis. And then they said with my size and body composition and everything else that I should be about 195 to 200. It was a little bit of a wake up, but you know what it did? I reset my goal then, and then I went to the next level to be able to reach that. Track that progress. You can't get anywhere unless you're tracking it. I've given you a couple tools, giving you the habit maker. You've got it in your booklet too. The weekly preview will help you get there. The design to reveal those progress towards your goals. So make sure you track it. And then an accountability partner. This is one huge, I would tell you. We don't set them up in this group, but you can find you an accountability partner. I would tell you probably not always your best friend. The reason is sometimes we have a hard time listening to them, and then you may not be best friends anymore because if you're not achieving and they're on your butt, you may want to get rid of them as being a best friend. So you decide who that is, but somebody that can help you hold you accountable. And then review that success, all the things, periodically reviewing. Where am I at? That's that quarterly review. That's that weekly review, all those things. How can I keep improve? How can I, keep start, and what can I stop as I go through those? We've given you all those with the full focus side that's there. Question, we're going to open it up. Let me stop sharing because we have some time to discuss, because I love getting to this point because I don't like coming up right to the end and that we have to jump off. I think Melissa has shared the link for you on the affiliate link. You will also get a follow-up email after this, and you will get the recording of this session and Tuesday's session that you can go back to and look at. That's available to you. Have a password and everything that you can get in. The only thing we ask that you do not share that with others. That's for you, not for someone else. On that side, you're going to get those downloads again, that link for the downloads, the habit maker, we're going to give you that. Anything else, Melissa, that I'm missing? And you have access to me, so if you got questions as you go along, I think there's some follow-up emails you're going to get weekly. I do ask some questions in there, so I'm going to give you a tip. You're supposed to respond when there's a question in the email to see how you're progressing and things of that nature. So you will be getting that too over a little bit, saying how are you progressing in those areas. So let's open it up. My first question for you is, what's your biggest takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway from the 2 days besides your overwhelm? Leslie, you're up in the corner, so I'll let you start off.
There's a lot, but a lot of it's, I think, exciting and could really lead to a lot more, productivity and all that fun stuff. But I think the biggest thing is, you know, just putting in the work, like you said, making the time to make it work and to get it all down, because you know, you're pulled in 27 different directions and it's so easy to make excuses not to do that. But at the same time, if you put in the effort up front, it's ultimately going to trickle down and save you that time, effort, anguish, all of that in the long run. So just making that commitment and prioritizing it.
Great. Alan, how about for you?
I'd have to say the biggest takeaway for me would actually taking the time to write down everything and then making sure that I do that.
Yeah.
What I have wrote down and celebrating my finished goals or the small things, celebrating the small
Celebrating your
things.
win. Yeah. Great. How about Abby?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is the power of three, even just how all of the tasks were grouped in the administration, high leverage, and personal. That to me just frees up so much brain clutter. And I just really like the concept of just grouping things in threes. These are my three priorities for the day, for the week. So that feels like a really big shift in my thinking and what I have gone about planning previously. So I really love that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Gabby?
I mean, for me, one of my biggest takeaways was that there can be a difference between personal goals and professional goals. They don't have to coincide at all, which is nice to hear.
Yeah, great. Kaylee?
Proud of you for saying my name correctly.
I was thinking about it. I don't know if you could tell, but I was thinking.
I was waiting, and I'm glad you called me now because like the train was going by over here by 3-story, and I was like, this is gonna be so loud. My main thing is like, it's my biggest takeaway is like that your goals don't have to be so daunting, because obviously there's like so many goals, right? There's so many professional goals and then so many personal goals, and how are you supposed to achieve all of them at one time? But you don't have to get everything done at one time. You can just kind of break it up and just kind of have your small achievements to then get to your big achievements. So just not being your biggest critic, I guess, and just taking the wins if they come.
Great. Kim?
Yeah, I can relate to Abby, I think, because I felt like trying to break them up into three categories. It's like, well, what's my top three? Well, myself was like never at the top three because I had all the other stuff to do first. So I was never in a top three. And so to be able to break them down into the different sections of, guess what, you are just as important. So here's a top three for you. Here's a top three for work. Here's a top three for, so just to kind of break it up. And because I'm like, how do you only pick three when it all has to be done? Because there is really more than just three in different categories.
Great. Yeah, I think that's excellent. The big thing is to get started. That's the key. Give yourself some grace as you start and then just move forward. Any questions? Really, we've got some time. I try to have this extra time because I go through a lot of material. You're going to be able to come back to it because you've got it on recording. I know this second day that you're not as active in the breakout rooms. Try to do that early, but I want to make sure you see that they actually don't show the slides. And to me, I can talk about that, but I think when you see the slides up there too, it helps you really resonate. Okay, these things are important, of mindset, of self-limiting beliefs, and those items. But let's open it up. Let's get a question or two.
Will
Kylie?
our breakout rooms be a part of the conversation? Like whenever we go back and be able to kind of reflect on like the video that you send us, are our breakout rooms going to be a part of that?
I don't think so. I think breakout rooms don't get put in there. I think it goes blank at that time.
Just curious.
Yep. Abby?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So once we're at the stage where we're able to integrate all of the pieces of this, I guess, should we be working backwards where we should start with the yearly goals, then go to quarterly, then weekly, and then daily? Is that the general flow, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and it's great time is, even if you don't think you're completely ready, since we're coming up to the end of the year, I would challenge you. You don't have to do all your goals, but do 3 important goals that you have for next year and start working them through the plan. And in whatever life domains that you want. But I would challenge you, because we're going to come up with a natural thing here in about 100 days, that we're going to be at the end of the year. And same way as I love that we're coming up on the end of a quarter, because I really would challenge you, even though you've not done and you may not have goals in step 4 and you don't have a life plan, you can still walk through the quarterly preview just in those areas. Think about, what do I want this next quarter? I'm on that side. If I look to the end of the year, what do I want to accomplish before 12/31/24 and the clock or the ball drops and the year's over? Instead, make it a subset, make it a small goal, and tell yourself, these next 90 days, I just want to get this accomplished and stuff. And then when you go into next year, put that into place. And with the full focus planner, like I said, you can do it a couple different ways. You have the sheets, of course. You're not supposed to make copies and continue to make copies over time. You can do that and stuff. Ultimately, they want to sell you the planner. That's Michael Hyatt and them. They're making recurring, that's how they make money, and stuff on that side. But the biggest thing is you can set it up on a subscription and you get all 4 at the same time. Or you can set up where you buy one and in 90 days then you can go back and buy it again, those type of things. The subscription makes it nice because basically they're set up for 90 days. Plus you're committing yourself if you buy 4 of them, to be honest with you, and things. Because if we just say, well, I'll buy one and see how this works, what are you already telling yourself?
I bought
I
6.
don't know if I'm going to do this or not, and things. And again, it's not because of the revenue I make. I know what it will do to people and how it can help. Even if you don't use it to its max, you use 25% of this, it's still going to improve your personal life as well as your business side of how you feel about things, that work-life balance side. Anybody else? Kim or Leslie? Question? Alan? Okay. Well, I'm a firm believer we don't leave people on just to leave you here. A couple things is you will be getting an email from us after this. The one thing I did forget that will be in there, there will be a survey. And I truly would appreciate if you do the survey and be honest with me. I try to improve my sessions as I go every time. I take those surveys very much in the mind of how can I improve, how can I get better. I can't change technology, we went off a couple times there, but other than that, please share with me your feedback. And there's some questions. I think there's only 5 questions on the survey, so it won't take you long to do, but please, if you would share that, we would truly appreciate that. For you doing the survey. All the other documents will be in there. They'll be able where you can access those. I would highly recommend that if you want to access those, I have the link up and it stays up for a while, but that's a smart thing to do is download them, put them into your drive if you got a place, because then they become yours. Just mark it full focus and make a folder. And if you want different folders in the subset of folders, do that and you have access to that material. As I go along, I try to do this about twice a year. So you'll probably get an email saying, hey, we're going to do that class again. If you have anybody that's interested in doing it, let me know. I've had some requests that some people in the local area would like me to do it in person and stuff. I can do it for teams. So I do want you to know that that is available for teams in person. And we could break it up 2 different ways. You could do 2 hours or break it up into different areas. So, and I think I just locked up. Are you all just locked up? Can you all hear me?
We can hear you. You are frozen.
Good talk. Good talk.
The fact that Melissa froze too tells me that it was their internet and now they're both off. So he's gonna come right back on, say thanks guys, bye. And we're all gonna go.
Deuces.
Right. Oh,
Yep.
Can everybody hear us?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I didn't know if it just.
Oh, we're
Thank you.
back.
I didn't kick
Just
us off or
y'all.
Well,
something.
maybe the thing was telling me I need to get the heck off of here because it doesn't want to
Time
hear
to
me
go.
anymore. So I get the point, you all. Okay, we're done. Leave you with this thought though: to make any changes in life, you have to do the hard things before they become easy.